Okay, I think we've got most people on the call. So I'm going to go ahead and get started because I know that your time is valuable and you are doing probably way more virtual trainings, even with a lot of your classes being in person than you would like. So I will try to keep mine short and sweet and to the point. I don't anticipate it'll go much beyond a half hour. So again, if you don't know me, I'm Eric Dye. I'm your Lexis rep at Notre Dame Law School. Luckily for most of you, we got to spend most of your 1L year in person, so you probably saw me around campus. This semester, a lot of my time will be with Zoom meetings like this. And so today's training is about how to pick a note topic. So first of all, congratulations on being on JLEP. That's a huge accomplishment to be on a journal, and I'm excited to help you with picking your note topic today. Before I jump into the agenda, just so you guys know who's going to be working with you for the next little bit here. I'm originally from California. I am a lawyer. I went to UC Davis Law School. I practiced law as a legislative lawyer in California for about 5 years. And then I moved to Michigan, where I worked in the court system for 3 years. And then for the past nearly 5 years, I've been working with you guys and several other law schools and law firms in the Midwest as a research attorney. And through that, I've had a lot of legal research experience. I was on a journal in law school too, so I know how valuable things like this are to get. So the agenda is really threefold today. I want to go over a few preliminary considerations, so just some things to keep in mind that I learned when I was on the journal, things that I've learned from your classmates along the way, things to keep in mind as you're picking your note topic. Then I'm going to show you some sample searches. I also sent, you guys probably should have already received a handout that'll go through a lot of these same searches and actually even some additional ones. They're all different suggestions to help you find a note topic by doing some searches on Lexis. So I'm going to go over this today. I'll send you the video afterwards, and you'll have the handout. So you have lots of resources to refer back to. And then finally, I'm going to give you a little bit of a preview about what our next training will be, because this is a two-part training. In a few weeks, we will be doing a preemption check training as well. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about what that is and what to expect with that. So in the end, I think my goal is to make sure you guys know how to use Lexis to pick a note topic and make that whole process seem a little bit less intimidating or scary. So for preliminary considerations, what I want to make sure you guys think about are, there's a lot of things, but there's three that I think are really important. So the first one is to make sure that you pick a note topic that's going to be of interest for you. I can't tell you how many of your classmates I've talked to over time, especially ones who have recently graduated, who talk about how at almost every job interview, what they wrote on as their note topic gets talked about. And frankly, you talk about it for the rest of your legal career. So make sure you pick something that's going to be of interest to you, because you're going to be spending quite a bit of time with it. Don't just do what you think is going to, I don't know, be the most serious thing or something along those lines. Do something that's of interest to you. Also, think about what you're actually doing in your note, though. Make sure you're actually arguing a position. So sometimes the tendency might be to just describe an area of law, but that's really more of a survey. That's not a note. In a note, you need to actually argue a position. So you need to be maybe identifying a split among circuit courts, for instance, and then arguing how the Supreme Court ought to resolve that split. So that's what you're actually, versus just talking about, well, this is what the court said, and then you leave it there. You want to actually be arguing something. So be thinking about what you can argue. And then finally, be aware of timing. Obviously, a big name of the game here is to get published. And so you're trying to be thinking about obviously something of interest to you, but also something that is of interest to a lot of practitioners right now too. And something that's sort of a, somewhat cutting edge issue that you can weigh in on and add to the conversation on. Versus talking about something that's pretty stale, that's already been done. You don't really want to do that. So kind of be thinking about timing, where your note topic can fit in with the current conversation going on about that area of law. There's plenty more to consider, but those are three that I really wanted to highlight. Some of those I wish I knew back then sort of things. So let's go ahead and jump into some sample searches. We're going to do these on Lexis Plus. For those of you who have not signed into your Lexis account yet this school year, make sure you do so. You go to the same place you always do, the law school homepage, lexisnexis.com/law school. But now, rather than going to Lexis Advanced, it'll take you over to Lexis Plus. Luckily, Lexis Plus is built on the foundation of Lexis Advanced. So as you'll see, it functions very much the same as Lexis Advanced, so there's really no learning curve. You will be just fine. But it's got a bunch of great new features, though, that'll really help it come alive and do even more for what you need it to do. And that's what I'm excited to show you today. So know that you have a really great enhanced platform at your disposal with Lexis Plus. but also know that your research skills from last year will serve you well and you will be just fine knowing how to use it. So those sample searches that I want to show today, I'm going to highlight 3. There are even more than that on the handout that you guys have already gotten, and I'll send it to you guys again to help you try to find a note topic. I'm going to show you searches to identify circuit splits you might want to write on, how to find newsworthy cases and legislation you might want to write on, or potentially matters of first impression, especially from a particular jurisdiction. These are oftentimes topics people try to write on, and so I'm going to show you some of these searches. So let me go ahead here, and let's go ahead and switch over to Lexis Plus. Okay, so I am now on the Lexis Plus page. So you'll see here, it looks a little bit different. It's got the darker backgrounds. Hopefully it's a little bit easier on the eyes, spending a lot of time on the computer these days. I'm sure that'll be valuable. But it's got the search bar like always. It's got the Explore Content Pod like always to help you browse. One nice feature on the left-hand side, though, is the Experience Doc. So now you can bounce back and forth between doing legal research, pulling up our practical guidance tools, or even using brief analysis, which is what I'm going to show, which is what I'm actually going to show you in the next training. It's going to be really helpful. It's called brief analysis, but you can run a note through it too. But today we're going to really focus on legal research and those sample searches to pick a note topic. So the first one that I want to make sure we talk about is how to find a circuit split. So one search I recommend doing is simply typing in the word circuit within 2 words of split or disagree. So this is the sample search. And what I'm going to try to find here are court cases that are talking about a circuit split. So if I'm trying to find that, they're probably going to be using the word circuit. They're likely going to be using that within 2 words of the word either split, like a circuit split, or disagree, circuit disagreement. And so that's why I'm searching that way. So I'm going to start really broad with this search. I used a terms and connectors command that /2 says I want to find these within the same 2 words of each other. If I need help with terms and connectors searching, I can always click this advanced search button down here, right below the search bar. So remember that's there to help you with those terms and connectors searching, which quite frankly, as you're working on your note, you're going to want to get more comfortable using that. Sure, you can do natural language searching, but terms and connector searching tends to be a bit more precise and get you even more exactly what you need without having to wade through a bunch of stuff that might not be quite on point. So get used to it. That proximity command, the / with a number, or /P for same paragraph, or /S for same sentence, those are very commonly used, and they're excellent tools to use in doing your search. So I'm going to go ahead and search circuit within 2 words of split or disagree, and then click the magnifying glass to run the search. And so you'll see now I've got my result list. This should look very familiar to Lexis Advanced. It's going to function very much the same. The default on Lexis is going to show you your list of cases using your keywords. You'll notice your keywords are color-coded at the top of the screen. So circuit is green, for instance. And then when I go through my results list here, if I want to see where my keywords are showing up in the preview language, I can just click this color-coded bar here, find the green, and it'll change my preview language to show me where circuit is being mentioned. This color coding thing is called search term maps. It helps you bounce around the preview language to see whether or not this case will be relevant to you without having to waste time clicking into it. It's a great time saver. And now with Lexis Plus, it's available for all of our content types, not just cases. So you can use this special feature to preview your language on statutes, on secondary sources, etc. So it's a really great tool. And it can help you start to narrow down which of these cases are talking about a circuit split that you actually care about. So to start to find those, I'm going to use my filters here on the left. And one of the first filters I'm going to use, because generally people write about a federal circuit split because they're federal courts, I'm going to go ahead and just take a look under federal courts. So I just want to see what federal courts are saying along these lines. And then usually with a circuit split, you're going to want to use the timeline here to look at only those splits or those discussions of splits for the past couple of years. So let's just we'll look at cases decided in the past couple of years. Because if it's an older split, the odds are it's already been resolved or that someone's already talked about how to resolve it, which gets to the preemption issue we'll talk about in future trainings. So now I'm looking at federal cases, talking about circuit splits from the past couple of years. And then what I can do from here is I can go ahead and use my sort by drop down on the upper right and say, I just want to see those cases from newest to oldest. Again, we're looking for the current discussion. So this is from newest to oldest. And then finally, to start to narrow this list down, which is still, you'll see here, almost 4,000, I can use search and results to start thinking about what are some keywords of an issue that maybe I want to write on. You don't have to know your exact argument yet, but if you know you want to write on something dealing with maybe class action suits, you could use search the results to say, okay, I want to see those cases talking about circuit splits, but also talking about class certification. So I'm using search the results to go ahead and search that. And so now this starts to get my list down quite a bit from the 4,000 where it was before. So we'll just give it a second to catch up here. Sometimes I get a snag when I'm also on Zoom at the same time. There we go. So that got my list down to 204 results from the 4,000. So you can see here, using your filters on the left are going to really help you out. And now I can take a look here, and already I can see this first case is talking about a circuit split in the with the 11th circuit and the 9th circuit. I could then take a look at that and see, okay, what's that split about? What does it have to do with class actions that might be relevant to what I could potentially use as my note topic? So that's circuit splits. Now that you've seen it, it's pretty obvious, right? But sometimes you just have to see these searches to know that they're available to you to do. So the second thing I want to do is we're going to mine the news to take a look at how we can find newsworthy cases or legislation to write about. Oftentimes when we have items that are showing up in the news again and again, they can be a good thing to talk about because clearly practitioners are wondering how to resolve whatever this newsworthy thing is. So one thing that's newsworthy are obviously big US Supreme Court cases, and there were a bunch of big ones this year. And so maybe I want to find what the news is saying about those court cases, because oftentimes the news will identify some open questions that the court didn't address. And those open questions can sometimes be a good note topic for you. So what you can do is go ahead and search the name of one of the parties in the Supreme Court decision. And then within 25 words of that, search for Supreme Court. So what I'm going to try to find now is legal news talking about this McGirt versus Oklahoma case. This is a big case dealing with tribal lands in eastern Oklahoma. I'm going to try to find news talking about the McGirt case and the Supreme Court close together. So they're talking about this case, maybe they're raising some open issues. What you would do is just pick the name of whatever case you're trying to look up and then do that within 25 words of Supreme Court and then click the magnifying glass. And so what I'm seeing first are going to be cases talking about this. That's not what I'm after. I'm trying to use the news to find my topic this time. So to switch to legal news, I can click the drop down on the upper left, and then I can go ahead and select legal news. So now I have, and this case just came out in June, so even with that, there's 74 legal news articles talking about this McGirt decision. And then what I can do is I can use my sort by feature on the upper right here to find what the most recent news is saying about this. And then if I wanted to narrow down even further, I can use my filters here on the left to find maybe those articles talking about a particular aspect of the McGirt case that I would like to explore further. And you'll know one of the news sources that we have on here, and it's only on Lexis, will be Law 360, which is one of the premier legal sources out there. It's a great thing to look at because it's a legal news source. So they're going to be raising legal questions, the type of questions that you can address in your note topic. So that's how I would say to find newsworthy cases. Now, newsworthy legislation, I'm going to start a little bit broader. So I'm going to go ahead from the main search bar here and type law or legislation or statute, because I'm not sure how the news would talk about it, within 25 words of challenge or lawsuit. So oftentimes if there's some law or legislation or statute that's being challenged or there's a lawsuit about it, that tends to be newsworthy, that tends to raise open questions, those make good note topics. So I'm doing my basic broad search here, law or legislation or statute within 25 words of challenge or lawsuit, and I'm going to go ahead and search for that. And again, we're still trying to find news because we looked at newsworthy cases. Now we're looking at newsworthy statutes. So I'm going to go ahead and click my drop down on the upper left to switch from cases to legal news. And I did a broad search, so obviously there's over 10,000 results here. So let's go ahead and use our filters to help narrow this down. To look at something newsworthy that's relevant, it probably needs to be recent. So let's use timeline here. I'm going to drag it over to just see those legal news articles from the past couple of years talking about these controversial pieces of legislation. And then I'm going to go ahead and probably filter down by using search within results. So let's say, again, I'm trying to look at class actions. So let's go ahead and just take a look at those articles talking about maybe legislation dealing with class actions. And I can keep using my filters on the left to narrow this down and then try to find which of these articles are talking about newsworthy pieces of legislation that raise some open questions I could use in my note topic. So sometimes a court will decide a case and it'll be a matter of first impression in that particular jurisdiction. And when that happens, there are a lot of times a lot of open questions, and those can be ones that you can answer in your note topic. And those are things that other journals like to publish because those are the sorts of things practitioners are looking to read about and get answers on. So to find matters of first impression from your particular jurisdiction, I recommend simply just starting out doing a search. I'm going to search for first impression. I put it in quotes because I want to find news articles talking about first impression first next to it, right next to impression, that exact phrase, within 25 words of pick your jurisdiction. So I'm going to do the Seventh Circuit. So I want to see discussions of matters of first impression coming out of the Seventh Circuit. We'll go ahead and search that. And I think the best place to start to figure out where these matters of first impression are coming from is probably legal news. Legal news articles will usually talk about which cases are dealing with matters of first impression or deciding matters of first impression. So I'm going to click the drop down on the upper left and then select legal news. And so we've got about 200 legal news articles here talking about matters of first impression coming out of the Seventh Circuit. I can start to use my filters on the left to narrow that down more. I can switch from newest to oldest here to see the most recent. And I can try to take a look at this and see which of these matters of first impression might be one that I want to write on my note topic. Or if you already have a rough sense of what you want to talk about, narrow this further by using search then results and type in a keyword that relates to what you want to write on your note topic to see if there are any matters of first impression dealing with that coming out of your particular jurisdiction. Okay, so those are the three key things I wanted to highlight. There are definitely more because there's so much you can write on. Take a look at the handout that's been sent to you. I'll send it to you again. It has these search methods and even more that you can use to pick your note topic. So the last thing that I wanted to make sure we covered today was just to sort of give you a heads up about preemption checking and what's coming. So once you pick your note topic, you need to make sure that no one has already written on that topic and had it published. So preemption is rare, it doesn't happen that often, but to do your due diligence, you need to be checking to see, okay, I'm interested in writing on this, I want to make this argument, has somebody else already written on this? And luckily, we here at Lexis have a couple of great methods that we can show you on how to use Lexis to do some searches to see if there are any other journal or articles out there that are writing on your same topic and making your same arguments. And one method we show you is term preemption checking, and the other one is Shepard's preemption checking. And so that's what I'm going to be talking with you guys about. We'll have another Zoom meeting to talk about preemption checking. So I should give you a few weeks here to be thinking about what you want to write on for your note topic. I'll then show you how to do preemption checking, and then I'm available to do one-on-one meetings with you to actually help you run searches on your particular topic that you want to write on. So that's coming down the pike as well. So we covered today were those preliminary considerations. Make sure you're writing on something of interest. Think about timing, things like that. We did some of those sample searches, things like finding circuit splits, things like using the news to find newsworthy pieces of legislation and cases that you might want to write on that have open questions, or finding matters of first impression. And then finally, I gave you a little bit of a preview about preemption checking. And frankly, at that training, I'm also going to give you a preview of brief analysis, which will be an amazing tool you can use to actually recommend cases to you to help you fill out your notes. So that's coming down the pipe too. So if you do have questions, I will pause at the end of this little training to field any of those. But you also still have student reps, and many of them are on journals or have been on journals. They're around. You have 6 of them. I've got them on the screen. They're more than happy to answer your questions. If I'm not immediately available, please reach out to them. Additionally, you can call the 1-800 number, 1-800-45-LEXIS. It is staffed by research attorneys. So it's not just there to help you if you forgot your password. You can actually ask them, I need help formulating this search, or I'm looking for this obscure resource. Can you help me find this on Lexis? They'll do that for you. Or if you don't want to call the phone number, that's fine. I tend not to, actually. I use the chat room. Just go to the Lexis Plus page, click the 3 dots menu on the upper right, then select live chat support. It'll take you in a chat room. These same research attorneys are in there. They'll help you find sources. They'll do searches for you. It's an awesome tool. And I like the chat room because then I have their answer in writing I can refer back to as many times as I need. was helpful. You now have some tools you can use if you're really stumped on picking that note topic. Take advantage of these tools. It'll help you start to formulate what kinds of questions you want to pose and then answer and argue in your note topic. I have my contact information on the screen. Please reach out, and I look forward to talking with you guys again for your preemption checking. Thanks so much. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you. Bye-bye.